What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with Invincible. Now, this one is a really cool story, right? So here's the idea behind this. In the aftermath of Mark basically being poisoned by the Scourge virus, we're kind of left with this situation where he's simply just recovering. And so what we actually end up doing is picking up with a guy named Zandale as he goes to hang out with the tailor. Now, as you guys know, the tailor's the one who designs costumes for people and was actually banging Mark's mom for a little while when Omni-Man, when Nolan had like left Earth. Right, so they were kind of, touching naughty bits for a little bit while she was coping with the loss of her husband or her ex-husband. And so Zandale kind of actually tells him, like, I'm here because essentially Black Samson kind of sent me, right? And it's one of those funny things where he makes this joke. He's like, are you assuming it's Black Samson because I'm black, right? Just kind of that little bit of a joke going on there. But we actually end up finding out that he's the Green Ghost and that he's actually the second iteration of the Green Ghost, that the first one basically died and he's essentially taken his place. Now, the way that Kirkman plays this, the Green Ghost really seems to be just kind of analogous to like the Green Lantern, right? He says like the tailor never had to make a costume for Green Ghost because his quote unquote Jade Gem did that for him, right? So essentially he seemed more akin to like a Green Lantern than anything else. But because of the fact that Zandale had helped Black Samson with various missions and things like that, he sends him to the tailor to basically get a costume so he can essentially do the kind of superhero thing for himself. And so the result of this is that he initially wants the costume that the tailor is working on, that of course is going to go to Mark. And Taylor's like, nah, it's not going to happen. But you could take that one over there, right? I mean, the discs basically allow you to store solar energy, but because your powers don't work that way, they just look cool, right? They're more of a fashion thing. And so at that point, you switch over to the dark side of the moon, right? And you basically got like the Guardians of the Globe, and you've got like Adam Eve and all these people who are basically there while Mark's being treated. Now, this is also the first time that you end up having Freddie Mercury meeting Cecil. And it's kind of a funny thing, right? Because Cecil, as you guys know, is kind of charged with like protecting the world. And like Freddie Mercury doesn't want to have any of that, right? Like he's not playing politics or anything along those lines, because Cecil's first question is like, how did you get here, right? Like, how are you here? Like, we literally have an orbital satellite system designed to basically protect this world and to monitor everything out there. How did your ships get past us? And the response of Freddie Mercury is like, our ships got past you because like, we didn't want you to know we were here. We've been here for months, right? And we will stay here. Like, you will honor the agreement that we've made with Mark. One, because it's the right thing to do. And two, because you don't have a choice. There's nothing you can do to stop us, right? If you set your Guardians of the Globe against us, we would kill them all quite readily, right? There's nothing that your Guardians could do to basically defeat us. So you just got to learn to play ball, man. But the other part of this, and this is one of the more sensitive aspects of Freddie Mercury, if he even has one, is he says like, at the end of the day, they will coexist with everyone, because if they were to have a big fight here on Earth, it would draw the coalition of worlds. And as you guys know from the last video that we did, the coalition of worlds has to basically believe that the Viltrumites will not return to their ways of trying to like conquer the universe or anything like that, that they can actually live in peace. The whole thing rests on a knife's edge. And the response that Freddie Mercury gives here is, if the coalition of worlds comes to the conclusion that we as a race cannot be trusted, they will come here against the wishes of Alan the Alien, and they will kill all of us and likely do the same thing to you. Like, this virus is infecting Mark, they'll spread it across the world, and it could very well lead to the extinction of your people. And so he's like, as to our current situation, we've dealt with the Scourge virus before. We know how to handle it. He says that Mark's life rests in their hands. The bigger problem with this is that, one, this is a new variant of the Scourge virus, right? It's like, Mark has COVID, it's a new strain of the virus. So they don't exactly know how it's supposed to work. They don't know how to treat this the same way they knew how to treat the previous version. And that Mark's still in the early stages. His condition will get worse before it gets better. And so in a kind of display, I wouldn't say solidarity, but in a genuine display of concern on behalf of Cecil, he's like, please do everything you can. And that's one of the easy things to forget when it comes to the character of Cecil. Is he a crotchety old dick? Yeah, like the guy's a jerk, man. Like he's just kind of hardcore. In all honesty, he kind of trounces around a little too big for his britches. But it's also easy to forget he genuinely cares about Mark, right? It's not as though he doesn't care about Mark at all, that Mark is some kind of a means to an end or anything along those lines. For him, it's his job to protect the world, and he'll do it by any means necessary. But he's not like some kind of psychopath or sociopath. He's not without empathy. So it's kind of cool to see this little bit of an exchange going on here. Now, at that point, you switch over to Dinosaurus, and then you basically have him fighting Alan the Alien. And the reason why is because it's just a giant misunderstanding. that basically what had happened when Mark was initially infected, before they whisked him off to the moon, that he told Alan, go find Dinosaurus, right? The guy's a scientific genius, go find him, he'll be able to help us deal with this. And so as soon as Alan the alien showed up, Dinosaurus immediately attacked him, and like they just got into this big fight. You don't really get to see the fight happen, which is kind of disappointing, because I would love to have seen like Dinosaurus and Alan the alien get into a fight with each other. I feel like it would have been amazing, and I hope we get it in the show. But ultimately they come to terms pretty fast, right? Remember, like Dinosaurus is a really smart guy, and so he's like, okay, so obviously Mark sent you here. Yeah, I overreacted, I apologize for that. Yeah, take me to Mark. And Alan's like, I'll explain everything on the way, but Dinosaurus is like, take me to Mark, right? Get me to where Mark's at. One of the funny things here though is that Alan the alien largely assumed that Dinosaurus could breathe in space because he could breathe in space. And so literally he flies him into the vacuum of space, and then like Dinosaurus just kind of starts suffocating and barely makes it, right? And it's like, damn, like my bad, man. I assumed you could breathe in space. Like Mark can hold his breath in space. I assumed you were all kind of like that. And so when Dinosaurus shows up here, you immediately have the Guardians of the Globe who like step in, right? And they're almost kind of ready to like launch an attack. The Viltrumites step up as well. And so what it looks like here is they're all basically aware of the nature of Dinosaurus. Now the Viltrumites, we kind of know, they already know because they've been here long enough to know the kind of things that like Mark is a vigilante, that like Dinosaurus basically led to the destruction of Las Vegas, all that kind of stuff. So they were kind of here for all of that. And the Guardians of the Globe responded to all that kind of stuff, right? So right off the bat, Dinosaurus is just not really an ally. And even Freddie Mercury's like, no, like your services are not needed here, right? Like we don't need you. You don't understand any of our technology or any of our stuff, right? It doesn't matter. And the response that Dinosaurus makes is actually wildly cool here, right? So he says, from what I know of your people and your relationship to Earth, the only possible reason you would even attempt to cure Invincible would be to gain favor with the people of Earth. Logically, you would not attempt to gain that favor if you didn't deem it absolutely essential to do so. And so he says, I'm offering my assistance because Invincible is useful to me. Can you really afford to turn away somebody who is more than likely able to help? And that is an accurate statement, because if Mark were to die, and word got out, which it would, somebody would leak somewhere, right, that Mark got out because an alien came to Earth to destroy the Viltrumite race that's living among them, and Mark was infected in a bit of a skirmish, everybody would look to the Viltrumites as the reason for why all this happened in the first place. Things would pop off like that. It would happen so quickly. And so because of that, ultimately Freddie Mercury is like, okay, fine, like we can't turn this guy away. Essentially, like, find a place for this guy to work. And then he tells the rest of them, leave, right? Like, get out of here, right? There's nothing for you to do here. We are hard at work on this situation. Having you here is only complicating things. He says, our location will not change. You can return to visit at any time. And when Alan's like, I mean, you can't really expect us to leave here, can you? The response of Freddie Mercury is like, if I wanted him dead, he'd be dead already. I will not ask again. Leave. Right? And Alan the alien is smart enough to know, okay, we should leave. He's smart enough to not cause problems with Freddie Mercury. Now, this is one of the most important moments in this story, right? One of the most, really, for like the future of the entire Invincible series. What you have is Thragg, who ends up visiting one of the scientists, right? Freddie Mercury visits one of the scientists, and he says he's just discovered something extraordinary. And when Freddie Mercury asks, like, have you discovered a cure? He says, no, sadly, but during the process of trying to synthesize a cure, we drew samples of the subject's DNA. Thankfully, it appears his body is staving off the Scourge virus, for now at least, but that's not the interesting part, right? This is important. He says, I don't really know how to say this, but when we ran his DNA, he's a match. The immediate response of Freddie Mercury is, you are to tell no one. Do you understand? Like, do not tell anybody. And like no one can know. You know, where the scientist is kind of like, I mean, I kind of feel like people should know. Freddie Mercury kills him, right? He's like, I'm sorry, no one can know this. No one can know that this is the case. Like, no one can have this information. This is one of the single most important moments from the entirety of the Invincible run, right? For those of you guys who know, please don't spoil it down in the comment section. It's a huge deal. And so you end up picking up with Zandale meeting with Adam Eve. And the whole thing behind this, I mean, initially when this happened, I was like, damn, dude, Zandale's trying to, like, man, he's trying to get Adam Eve between the sheets, right? And it ends up turning out that, like, she had kind of called him here. And the reason why is because of the fact that with Mark being out, remember, they have Invincible Inc., which is basically like their own little organization between Adam, Eve, and Mark, as well as a few other people they've recruited that serve the purpose of like safeguarding different places, right? Sometimes it's bodyguard duty, sometimes it's like defeating some villains that are like destroying a thing or something like that. Never really anything nefarious, right? If some organization's like, Mark, I need you to go and topple that, legitimately elected, political official over there so that I can build solar panels in his backyard. I mean, they're not going to do that, right? I mean, that's not going to happen. But because of the fact that Mark's not here, and because of the fact that Mark is MIA, kind of believed to possibly be on the verge of death, that much like you would expect with like a company that looked like it was about to go belly up, clients are pulling out. Because why would you keep your horse hitched to a stable that looks like it's getting ready to just be destroyed? And so this is one of the last few clients they have left, and there's just some things popping off. The other part of this is that Zandale had stepped in and helped with Invincible Inc. while Mark was out in space. The problem with this is that when the companies contracted with Invincible Incorporated, they were paying for Mark's services. They were not paying for the services of Zandale. And so while he did exactly what was supposed to be done in order to basically save the day, that their stance is no, they paid for Invincible, they want refunds, right? They basically didn't get exactly what they paid for, or they didn't get the person that they paid for. And so as a result of this, Zandale's idea is like, okay, I have an idea, right? If I stay like a little bit further away, and they can't really see me up close, I think we can pull this off. And so what he ends up doing is going to the tailor, and basically like he gets a haircut, and then he gets a new costume, and he basically passes himself off as the black version of Invincible. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.